we money get paper. Cause you know we party hard later. Mr. Flex and Papa got the old city lock with the girls take each and every area. Stepping NLC with no chaser.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where in the world you are joining me from. I am Alluminati, and this is the Crypto and Cognac podcast show, as always, powered by our friends at Alti.com, the one-click crypto wallet for Telegram, WhatsApp, and Discord, and fueled by my friends at Hennessy TT. We're not in the lab today, as you guys can see, but we're still gonna hold it down. We have the baby bottle today, and we're drinking out of a teacup. But we're still gonna have fun. We have an amazing conversation for you guys this evening. A guy that I've had my eyes on for a few months now, and been watching him, watching his dedication to the space, watching his evolution in the space, and now I'm really excited to bring him to you guys, Mr. Ea-Rhon Rogers. He is a software engineer major at Morehouse College, and he's doing a ton of other things that I'm gonna let him share with you in a little bit. Ea-Rhon, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man. Pleasure to be here.
Welcome to the podcast. Pleasure to have you.
Pleasure is mine, man.
I love that you're repping Morehouse to the death.
Love
it. I'm seeing Bob in the background.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
So, the first question that I ask everybody when they come on to the podcast is, how the hell did you get here? How did you find cryptocurrency? What was your journey like that brought you to this space?
Well, once again, man, pleasure to be here. You know, it's a pleasure to be in a space of one like you. You know, I've been a fan of yours for way more than some months, much more than some months. But crypto, the old crypto, 2017 to late 2016, my best friend, shout out to Shamar Gaskins, he's probably listening. And
Shamar done locked in, man.
Yeah, shout out to Cedric. He came to me one day. I spent numerous nights and days at his house. You know, he came to me one day with this conversation from his dad, I think, if I'm remembering correct. He said his dad told him about this cryptocurrency, and he broke it down to me to the atomic structure of it. And from that day in 2017, late 2016, I'm not really sure when it was.
Right.
To this day, being both co-founders of the Bad Goat Web3 brand, we've been down the rabbit hole ever since. You know, we've been investigating, and he's been teaching me, and we've been teaching each other and conversating as to what it is and the functionalities of it and the structure of this thing. You know, before it was anything, before NFTs, before anything, before we had any money to financially take part in, you know, the structure of it, we were interested in what it was. And from that conversation between himself and his dad is how I learned of crypto, you know, and how I got into crypto myself. So from there, we took it a step further, and, you know, I don't have the words to say, but we took it further. We took it a step further and went all ears and all eyes in, man.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love to see it. I mean, so you are from Anguilla.
Yes, sir.
Living in the US, going to school. So were you at school yet when you heard about crypto, or no? You were still back home?
No, I was actually back home. I was in sixth form college. I was in probably my fourth year, going into my second year of sixth form, and back in Anguilla. Yeah, so I went to sixth form college in Anguilla, and I was back home, and we were at his house, back home in Anguilla, and
so did that conversation, those conversations, have any influence on the journey that you've taken in terms of what you've decided to pursue from an academic standpoint? Or was the tech world, the software engineering space, was that always something that you were interested in?
Oh yeah. Sorry, excuse me, but yeah, the interest in crypto was because of our predicate structure and our predicate interest in technology, and, you know, how in the evolution of technology. So my dad, who I think we all all this praise to. Initially, is a network engineer. He has been his whole life. So I've been around technology in terms of telecommunications. He worked for Digicel in Angola, and I've been around technology from the inception. One story that he's speaking of about me is he bought me this toy of some sort one Christmas, and before 12 o'clock on that Christmas day, and every Christmas day after that, the toys were always decapitated, broken down to the boards, and how it actually works. So he always reminded me that I was always that kid, So coming up through him and seeing that way of life and just being immersed into it by default is how I got into that. And then crypto was just the addition onto that interest, that made perfect sense.
Right. And how did you go about choosing Morehouse? Because Morehouse, yes, is one of the top colleges in the US. Do they have a strong program, or was it more so about the history of the school that led you there?
Definitely the history of the school. And, now that I'm part of the program, I know that there is a strong program there now.
Right.
But my mom and my aunt, my mom's sister, went to Spelman College. They both attended college. So shout out to my Spelman sisters and my mom and my aunt, who's probably also listening. So just being around the AUC, which is the Atlanta University Center, they attended in the early 2000s, late 90s. So from that age, from very young, being around, falling in love with that culture. So their inspiration, coupled with wanting to know more Black, from a Black perspective, always been, curious from that avenue, from that peripheral, is what led me to Morehouse. And then, like I said, it was honestly, Morehouse is a more pre-liberal, more liberal arts institution. So it's honestly not the school you would choose if you're into technology per se. But the software engineering program that I'm part of is immaculate. I do not regret my decision, not even a little bit.
Yeah. So you're in your senior year now.
Yes.
What has that journey been like? How have you found the previous few years? How have you found this final year, and how is it all kind of coming together for your next step? And what is that next step for you?
2 phrases, well, 3 words. First phrase, one step at a time, and the second phrase, very unconventional. So again, like I said earlier, I went to Associates College, went to Associate School, Sixth Form College, Albino Lake College, Comprehensive College, the only college in Angola. So that I guess brought me in, added to my gap year between that and college. That brought me in a much older age, I would say. And then somewhere halfway through the matriculation process, I dropped out. I said, forget that. I took a year break and I went back home. I worked in IT for the Belmont Cap Jaluka. So I did that, and I came back in a year away. So I spent 1 year, and so it was very unconventional. The road was very rough, as I'm sure any college student who is here listening can attest to. Very, very hard, but very worthwhile in the end. The lessons are, unmeasurable to anything. And being at Morehouse, honestly, was, the greatest pleasure of all, is being submerged in a Black space, a completely Black environment. It was honestly the best decision to date.
And how was COVID, managing COVID through that period? What was that like?
Well, funny enough, COVID was 2019. Yeah, I was my second year of college. So when the first break came out in December, we went on our winter break. So it didn't really affect then. But coming back into the spring semester for that year, 2020, we got an email like on Monday giving us like this discrete instructions on what it was, very in-depth instructions. And then the Wednesday, school shut down. Like the Wednesday, we got an email said no one is to return to campus indefinitely. So we went that day. We took like a week break. I went home. The school ended that Wednesday. I booked the flight home that Friday and my island's borders closed down the Saturday.
Wow.
So that
So then
happened.
you were stuck.
Yeah, I was gladly stuck at home. Honestly, gladly stuck at home. So yeah, that, and then we transitioned into the online, which was difficult. Difficult being back at home, having the pleasures of home.
Yeah.
And having to innately focus at class was something new, difficult, but we made it through. And honestly, we've still been in that state to this day.
Right.
Even after I took the break and came back in, we're still in the state of
Remote.
online classes. Only this semester has been the inaugural one post COVID that there
Right.
are classes online.
In-person classes.
Yes.
So let's talk about software engineering and why software engineering, right? Because you said your dad talks about you decapitating the toys. That feels to me a lot more hands-on
Mhm.
than the type of engineering that you're now pursuing, which is a little bit more, behind the scenes of the technology. So what led you to software engineering rather than something more hands-on?
The honest reason was that, like I told you, Morehouse was a liberal arts institute, so there is
Right,
not many options in terms of tech. The
right,
only three would be engineering, and then computer science.
right.
So I went into software engineering honestly because it was, one, the only option, and then two, I wanted to be a house. And then I grew into it. I grew the passion for it because it it put me into the space, the thinking that if I understood how the computer how it atomically functioned, then I could manipulate it into any avenue, any path that I would like. So for me right now, given that I'm definitely more hardware, more networking guy, if I say so, the software engineering degree comes in, and that it allows me to overstand, the predicate of this thing we call a computer, and this technology that is based upon that thing we call a computer.
Right. And I mean, I know in software engineering you deal a lot with programming languages and stuff like that, and that is something that we see a lot in the crypto space from the dev perspective. How has your academic knowledge around programming languages benefited you in the crypto space? And you know, have you found like one language that you really love? How does it compare in the traditional space, the Web 2 space, compared to the Web 3 space?
Being bluntly honest, programming and honestly, I don't know how I was made it through, but programming has been my weaker aspect of my academic structure. So now
Right,
having the opportunity, point blank, to have that real life time to debug and correcting and
right,
trial and error, have that real time knowing, is honestly the best thing that's happened to me, because I'm able now to better understand, the in-class assignments and the theories and the concepts put forth in class, because of I am now getting that, developer
practical.
standpoint, practical, essence of it. So before it is still a struggle, learning languages. I don't think anyone who is a software engineer, you say, yeah, yeah, but it is definitely a struggle worth fighting, a battle worth fighting, in the end, because
Yeah,
you come up with a satisfying result every time,
yeah.
regardless.
For
Regardless.
me, I mean, I have super respect for you guys. That has never been my area of expertise at all. Um, I always say I'm a techno dunce. It's why I buy Apple products. It's not because I think that they're cool or whatever. They just don't break,
Yeah.
as from my experience. And I am used to breaking shit. Right? Something was always going wrong with my computer whenever I used it growing up. So for me, I've always kind of shied away from the tech side. But now that I'm in this crypto space, I find myself wanting to get behind the scenes of what all this technology that I'm talking about, all this cryptography, SHA-256 hashing algorithms, and what does all of that mean? So I've definitely found that practical, or having that practical reference point has definitely been beneficial to me in terms of, so I could definitely see what you're saying there. So I mean, I want to not skip, but I want to shout out you guys for what you're doing with the Bad Goat project. It's definitely a cool project. It's definitely something that I've seen that you guys are building that is a lot more intricate than you would expect from a young group of guys like your team. So tell me a little bit about that. Tell me how you guys decided on Solana, because that is a whole different programming language to Solidity on Ethereum and some of the other EVM networks. Like, talk me through that and that experience.
We have to go right back to its inception, then Days Ducks. We have to go right back to Days Ducks.
Right.
Yeah, and shout out to Days Ducks, of course.
Yeah. Shout out to Zach, Sean, Guava, the guys at Days Ducks.
Yeah, for sure. We have to go right back and tell the story of Days Ducks. So our first financial investment into crypto was Days Ducks. And when I say us, our was me and Shama.
Right.
So when we actually bought a rug Days Ducks at first, or wrong Days Ducks.
Oh my God.
So yeah, we learned literally through error.
You are going to learn.
Yeah, so after all the years of just learning about crypto and consuming the knowledge and being in that space of crypto, I remember before Days Ducks, the most interesting thing that happened for us, I can't speak of this crypto thing as a single, and honestly I cannot. It doesn't make sense in my head.
Yeah.
The only exciting thing that happened for us before this Days Ducks episode was Seg getting a ledger. I remember the day he got the ledger, and he showed me. That was amazing. That was crazy. So Days Ducks happened, and we figured it out. We got our shares in on Days Ducks. Days Ducks is the best. So we got our shares in on Days Ducks, which is on Solana as well. And then from there, we got the idea that we should take a look at this. We have the ideas in terms of the business, from the business standpoint. We have the technological know-how, and we have the interest. We have the honest interest in the space, being from the Caribbean, understanding the essence of what it is. It truly means to say that, you know what I mean? And then having the background of tech, and then being submerged and being into the space finally with our investment. Solana was the example we had, and we then went into the evidence of Solana being no fee, low fees, low transaction fees, and then the whole positive development of the blockchain as a tech business. We decided that would have been the best move. So Bad Goats was homage to if you know anything about Anguilla, one animal you will definitely see in its true living colors is a goat. So Bad Goats is a Web3 brand that pays in it homage to Anguilla and it tells the story in many aspects of through an Anguillian's eye, and it's literally we want to our plan is to really put forth a proof of concept that Web 2 and Web 3 not only can they are they positive, but can coincide, and Web 3 has the propensity to improve the standards of the everyday Web 2 utility and services. So Bad Goats, the art. On the art side of it, we have an artist who did the art. You've seen the art, you can speak on it.
Yeah.
He is Anguillan as well, one of our high school friends. We hit him up, and we broke down the essence of layering and the whole process of that, and he took it by the hands, literally, and produced, helped us. We gave our ideas. We included many in real life, which was intentional in real life brands, local brands, YHNG, Young Hustlers, New Generation, local music groups. and other brands as well in the Smokers Corner and other other in Web2 brands and businesses, for you, of course, what is utility. And we sought to create and generate what we have now as this Genesis collection of goats that tell a story from an Anguillan's perspective through Web3.
Yeah, that's actually pretty dope. And I mean, I love that you guys continue to be a team building from the resources amongst yourselves. Um, and you guys would have done a lot of the behind the scenes for this project. Yes, you all guys would have done a lot of the programming work, a lot of the stuff like that. Yes.
Yes. Between myself and Shamar Gaskin, we took majority of all of it of ourselves, and then coming to the end, we had an issue with what we call putting it live on the
Right.
blockchain, and we got some help from our friends at Bobby Rabbit, which is another Web3 brand. Brian and Khan pop at Bobby Rabbits, and they helped us, put it live. But we have videos and documentaries, that we plan to bring forth of us burning the midnight candles, trying to figure this shit out, man. Just before this, we knew nothing of it. We knew nothing of what it took. Every step of the way, as we realized what we needed, we adjusted and learned and overstood what it took. And this is so far so amazing. I'm so proud of what myself and Shama and Maja and Kwame has been able to create.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, I mean, I one of the things that I loved and the reason why I really wanted to have you on and have you guys represented is that in my space with Crypto Caribbean, we get approached by a ton of different projects, a ton of different people who have an idea, who want to bring their idea to the world and uh, willing to share that, and they approach us to check out their art, to support them as the case may be. And I think you would have reached out to me and said, check out this art. I would have given you some feedback. But unlike most people, you never let it break you. And you just went back, you kept working, you guys continue putting together your product, believing in your product. And I've really seen the growth. And sometimes that's so much of an important lesson to learn in this space. Just not giving up. Not just being the audacity of continuing to move forward one step at a time. So big shout out to you guys for that. Continue to do your thing. Continue to be great. So tell me a little bit more about that process. And
So started, like I said, after our initial investment in today's docs, we went into this mode of creators mode, and we sat and scripted it out. Shama would have taken the lead with the whole narration of the story, of the backstory of Medusa and the other legendary goats in the collection, and then majority of the blueprints of it as well, the road mapping and the black papering, as we call it, the essences of the background of it, as you said. He would have taken the scripture of that side, and we would then go about and tell our story. We went to local brands, real life brands, locations and venues, and explain what this is and what not only what our brand would have been at the time or would intended for it to be, but the holistic education of what cryptocurrency and Web3 and DLT blockchaining would be, as we would call it. We would go around and prophesy and teach these things, and just like you're saying, and my mom would probably be tired at this point of hearing these things, and just saying it and pitching it to her, and continuously every night for days and weeks just going over there, even we didn't know what we were doing, just thinking about it and conceptualizing and, you know, learning in YouTube videos and YouTube videos and YouTube videos and Discords and Discords and Twitter posts and Twitter posts and videos and videos and, you know, reach out. Yeah, the whole 9 yards, the whole 11 yards, man. And the art was something that, like, we be separated from the tech space because we had nothing to do with the art other than, you know, the idea we had for the goats, and then the, what we call attributes, the specific attributes we had, we wanted to be inclusive in that collection. And the artist really is to come commended for that in its entirety. The tech standpoint, we would have, you know, spent, like I said, nights just trying on the dev net and trying and testing replets and getting GitHubs and repositories and so many, the whole thing of it that, you know, when we get bored of viewers, you know, talking about. And we held this in real life event that you would have seen in the promo video when you launched the Bad Goats website. We sought to hold this in real life event. And for the said reason, you know, to bring together any interested people and persons in the space to teach and help them understand any questions or any inquiries that would have had, and to introduce officially what Bad Goats was. Coming to that day, we realized that we didn't have all our ducks aligned as we thought. And even down to the second before we started to walk in for the mint party, there was no mint process available. And we were there trying at it, and we postponed the mint on 420, and we had what I would call a successful mint party. However, you know, in real life connection and operation and conversation was, I thought, you know, incredible. We sought to gather some sort of like 100 following, and, you know, from that one instance, you know, organically bred, we got most of the following, as you would see, you know, Discord now, you know, as it is. And as we continue to organically build that from that premise is where we started. And then we would catch the sight of, you know, like likes of you, and reach out to Days, Ducks, and Bobby Rabbits for, you know, the assistance technologically, and get that on the road. And, you know, here we are. Here we would have been 2 months ago with the art, immaculate art, but still not the prowess in technology as we would have. So doing our research, you know, making our connections, understanding this thing, you know, still, you know, carrying on with our in real life and just the whole walks of it. And going into mint, you know, I would say, like, we lost some momentum because of the time, you know, on the back end. But I'm just thinking of the whole.
Let me ask a question. What is the crypto scene like in Anguilla? Is there a strong community that you guys are pulling from, or is it that you guys are having to do a lot of onboarding of people from the traditional space into the crypto space, and you guys are their first, like, point of call or first port of call as it relates to cryptocurrency?
From my perspective, yes, the latter. Most people, the questions we've answered were, what is cryptocurrency? You know, some persons never own a wallet.
Right.
You know, some people have never invested into that, you know, avenue of, you know, money. So most people in Angola do not know, if I do say so myself confidently, what crypto, or how the walks of cryptocurrency would be. However, there is the buzz going around with the EC dollar now, with, you know, with Dcash, you know, in the investigations in the depths of, you know, Dcash, and they saw, as Crypto Caribbean posted, the Trinidad government has done some financial upgrades as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite a Dcash, and Dcash, I think is a huge step in terms of getting a region kind of acclimated with the cryptocurrency space, even though CBDCs aren't traditional crypto, but I think CBDCs are an important step for creating awareness and trust for people to eventually move into the I would say the real crypto space. Not everybody is going to be as bold as you guys are, as, you know, I have been, you know, falling down the rabbit hole. You know, some people are a little bit more risk averse. So I think, CBDCs, I'm not one of those people who is, completely against CBDCs. I understand the dangers of them. And I think it's something that we need to be very aware of. And, it's for people like myself, yourself, to continue to educate people around the challenges with CBDCs and some of the risk associated. But I think CBDCs are have a huge part to play in overall adoption. So definitely, I had the opportunity to be on some conferences with some of the people from the EC, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, and get some insight into their hopes around it. And I think that they have a very positive outlook on the cryptocurrency space. I don't see them being as adversarial as some of the other territories. So, that's good. That's all good news for territories like Anguilla and other countries that fall under that EC bracket.
I would love to hear more about that,
like you said,
conversation as well, but
yeah, I mean, so, today is episode 28. We actually have only one more interview for season 2, and then we're going to take a little break and we're going to come back with season 3. And I definitely have somebody from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank who's going to come through in season 3 to speak and have the opportunity to answer questions from, people like yourself and people in the community around what they're doing. So, all of these are conversations that we definitely want to have, that we think are super important for the region, as we continue to advocate for regional adoption. So that's why it's so important for me to see people like yourself, people like Shamar, who are young and pushing through in this space, because I think the Caribbean really has an opportunity to, like I always say, to dominate and not just participate in this crypto space. And it's you guys who are going to do it. You guys are going to lead. We're going to be able to create some cracks in the door, but you guys are going to be the ones who are going to come behind and kick it open and really do some special things. So
for sure. I mean, I think part of the adoption that's making it a lot difficult is that we some way see a differentiation between the spaces of Web 2 and 3, and we don't see how Web 3 can come in, make better of what already exists, and not super side, but help and improve what is already existent and what is, quite frankly, on the verge of diminish.
Yeah. I think too many people see it, like you said, as either or. It's either Web 2 wins, and for Web 3 to succeed, we have to get rid of Web 2. But like you said, I don't think that is the case. I think Web 2 has already done a great job of building brands, of building communities, and giving access to those communities and confidence in those communities to produce content and to share perspectives and to share what they have with the world. So Web 2 has allowed us to participate in the web. I think what Web 3 is going to do is just take it a step further and allow us to not just participate, but have true ownership in the things that we participate in. And like you said, that's not an either or dynamic. That is, building on top of, and that's evolution. That's growth.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that is the story that needs to be told. That is not here to, take over, but make better. It will initially in its predicate, it will serve the same people that are the same services, are the same goods that Web 2 has solved in its whole existence. So
for sure. So let me ask you, what are some of the things that you are most excited about in the space right now? What do you see that's coming? What are you excited to build and bring to the space?
Well, for Force, what excites me the most is to be part of this, what we call a bear market, and experience the bottom of it and the struggle of it, and see it separate them boys and the men. Say it like that,
Separate the sheep from the goat.
Goats, you know what I mean? So that is really, eye-opening for me to experience that real time, I would call a recession,
Yeah,
by definition.
yeah,
So for that as a beginning, I think is one. Two, I'm excited to just honestly integrate and keep educating and keep going forward and bringing in as much people into this, like you said, community,
yeah,
as possible. Like for Bad Goats in particular, there is no one set, objective, like to for example, we see a lot of brands go into like NFT, what do you call, like what do you say, like they're bringing back, rug NFTs and these sort of like
right, right,
these three space only. And I think for Bad Goods, if I speak for us, we want to integrate and help these promoters, these festival owners, these party go
right.
promoters, these musicians in particular. I'm a big fan of the Caribbean scene in terms of music, in terms of, and I like the Big Bang Punishments, it's the OUR Records, the OUR Radio,
Yeah,
So into music and as many, our culture, especially to tell our,
right.
as many avenues and sectors as possible to help integrate them into this space. So I'm excited to and help continue push the good story of cryptocurrency,
Right.
from, teach the true story, educate from the true perspective of it. We will see the time possibly where, I don't want to say it in this way, but an expat, someone that is not from ourselves, come in with this power and this force and win off of the things that you have been saying for years and that we are trying to put
Yeah,
forward, for this time. We will see the time when, these things will happen because of, beyond our control. So just being the early ones in it, I'm excited to just see how it plays out and see how it goes forth. You know, I can think back to participating in dial-up, plugging out my uncle's, telephone to go on to surf the internet on AOL back in the early days of internet, and to think, conceptualize, and to be a
yeah,
part of the technological explosion that has happened within the last 15 years of the
yeah,
human existence. You know, we can't imagine where Web3 will go. We would have never imagined
correct,
that we'd have been working full functioning more efficiently from our houses on what people
correct.
are arguing 30-hour shifts from our beds, and making more money as a social media influencer than a lawyer or a doctor 30 years ago.
Okay.
Never thought of that, but these are the days that we live in, and we see the times we see the days of change are coming. I'm
Yeah,
expecting
I mean
that change.
that's an excellent point. Like there are a lot of careers that have been spawned as a result of Web 2 that a few years ago would not even been contemplated.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, it's exciting to think of what new careers might be developed, might be created as a result of this Web3 space. I mean, we already seeing people being able to invest from home. We're seeing kids, 10, 11, 12-year-olds mining, creating NFT projects, selling and buying NFT projects, and being able to pay for their university education already. And you spoke about the discipline of staying committed through this bear market. And
Yes.
I think it's such a good perspective, because a lot of the young people that I talk to um, are so they're so excited to have everything happen now, and not understanding that there are cycles. Um, there is a level of discipline that needs to be applied.
Mhm.
That cryptocurrency is not a get rich quick scheme by any means.
Mhm.
It takes discipline, diligent work. Um, it takes being willing to ride out your fears. When you see the markets crashing. I mean, we've had a couple days of some green candles, but still, 2/3 down from all time highs as it relates to Bitcoin. But this is my first true bear market, because the last bear market I would have simply just packed up shop and gone away. completely disappeared from the space. So this is the first bear market that I'm actively engaged in. I'm plugged in. I'm looking at projects. I'm doing my reviews and assessments of projects and seeing which are going to be the ones that are going to be around in 2025, 2026, and seeing how I could, get in on those opportunities at a very early stage. So, but like you said, it's not about tomorrow or next week. We're talking 2025, we're talking 2028.
Yeah.
For me, 2030 is, my first real point of call in terms of my crypto investments.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For right now, it's just about keeping my head down, learning, continuing to educate myself in this space, continuing to educate other people, bring other people along, continue to grow this crypto Caribbean community. Bring people like yourself together with people like Days Ducks who would have inspired you. Have some in real life events where we could bring guys together who could share and work together and continue to build this thing, because I really
have on my board NFT Caribbean. That's the one I have on my board.
Well, what I would say is there are a couple big NFT event promoters who are actively looking at it. So we will probably see that happen, a lot sooner than we think. We have a few projects that have been successful in the Caribbean, and we have 40 million people in the Caribbean as a collective. So we have a real genuine market that some of these blockchains like Polygon very interested in, Algorand very interested in. We have one ledger which is led by somebody out in the Caribbean. We have huge projects like Bridge Network with Caribbean roots, Alti.com, which is registered in Barbados.
Okay.
So the Caribbean has a lot of things happening, and I think we're going to see a lot more happening. But like I said, it's because of guys like you who are being brave enough to step forward and to keep going. When you run into that first door, when you get that first no, you have to keep pushing past that no, and to believe in what you're building and believe in the journey, and keep going. So shout out to you and the rest of your team, man.
For sure, man. Appreciate that a lot. I think if I say from an investor standpoint, what this bear market allows is for a cheaper entry, and we don't see it as that. We see it as a loss. I think means Seg would have come to the general consensus that this is the time we would have had to go a little harder, because if any time we would succeed and prove our point, it would be no.
Yep, 100%.
And I think we have so far made very much steps to that. So I think the market and the people who and the things and the brands that come forth out of the bear markets of the world, like General Motors bear market, we talk the Google bear market, that you think of the technological bear market. Motorola demolished because they weren't able to conform into the smartphone era, and Apple, Samsung came forth. We think of the money market. Now we see the global economy shift a little bit into ones that are directly into true utility, and then so now this bear market, from those who are inside, will just prove the same points. I think there is nothing new under the sun in terms of principle, and who gets it gets it. Who's late will be late.
Yeah, I mean everybody will. There's a saying that everybody buys Bitcoin at the price that they deserve. So it is what it is. I am very, maybe selfishly, I'm still very much in the accumulation stage. I'm a lot happier to buy Bitcoin at 25,000 than to buy it at 69,000. So
I mean, Solana when we bought our initial investment for Days Ducks, Solana was at 200.
200, correct.
It was at 20, we'd have probably had 10 times the amount of profit we have had now. So I mean, those
Yeah.
things
So
just continue to prove the point to me and people around me that this will be the way forward. In the simpler forms like crypto answers and blockchain answers the simpler problems, like how long will we print tickets for parties? You
well,
know,
there is something coming. I'm telling you, there's something coming for ticketing specifically.
mm,
I think we're gonna see NFTs really blow up from a utility standpoint and really do some amazing things across the Caribbean as it relates to events and festival spaces and that kind of thing. So I'm definitely excited about that.
me too, man. Me too. It's just the beginning. Like, as we both
It's
know, it's literally just the beginning. If you look at
yo,
the chart and if numbers don't, like you tweeted a couple of days ago, men lie, women lie, numbers. You look at the
numbers don't.
charts and every cryptocurrency is upward and everything else is downward and
Yeah, man. So what I want to do now is jump into the Crypto Caribbean TV tip. I want you to speak to, some of the younger people coming behind you and give them some advice as they start, looking into this space. Aaron,
yeah.
so drop some knowledge for the youngsters coming behind you. What is some of the advice you would give to them? One piece, two piece.
Well, water takes shape of this container. Be changed, be able to change, be formable. We have this saying: we can't teach an old dog new tricks in the Caribbean. Be changeable.
Right.
Be able to conform with the times and adjust and do your own research. Please be able to do your own research. My mom always tells me, you want to fool a black man, rate it. Read. Take those, go deep into it. Have the time into yourself and the belief. The sky is not the limit. It's just the beginning. It's just the
Right.
floor. Break barriers. Don't settle for what is conventional. That's just a perspective of another man. Do yourself, make yourself happy. Don't be safe. Take that risk on yourself and everything else that comes with self-preservation and self-happiness. Honestly, the purpose is happiness for me first and foremost in this life, and then everything else.
Bless, bless. So, bro, as we tick down to the end, let me shout out a few people in the comments. Stephen is there, as always. Latonia, um, Tanisha, I hope I'm not butchering your names. Risa, I think Risa, I think is your aunt. No, Dala is your aunt. Dala Hudge.
Mm.
Oh, Dola, sorry. Apologies, Auntie. So, is there anybody that you want to shout out? Anybody you want to say hi to? Um, as we get ready to wrap, any last words you want to share with the people?
Um, yeah. Shout out to my mom, first of all, and I love you always. Shout out to the whole Hodges clan, my whole family. And I'm not able to see the comments, so I'm a little starstruck to hear them. So thanks everyone that's listening. Shout out to Bad Goals first and foremost. Of course, Days Ducks. Shout out to Young Hustlers. Anguilla. I see the comments. My sister now. Everyone. Thank you, everyone. I can't. It's coming through on a rush now, so you can't see. Shout out to everyone that's out there. Thank you for being here, and shout out to you, Illuminati, for having me here. The pleasure was
Bro,
definitely mine.
bro, definitely the pleasure was mine. I want to reiterate that um, I don't feel like I'm having you on the show as a favor to you. You know, um, I really feel inspired by what you guys have been doing, the persistence and the consistency that you guys have shown with Bad Goat, um, and that is why I've taken the opportunity to jump in and support you guys there, and any kind of support that I can do going forward, I'm very, very excited to do that because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, building this crypto Caribbean community so that we could challenge the world. We could be that repository of information. We can provide and outsource technology to the world, as India has become that kind of go-to space, as Africa is growing, the Caribbean, I don't see why we can't, hold our own and take a big piece of that pie as well. So very, very for me, it was super important to have you on, representing your team, and you guys continuing to do your good work.
Thank you, man. I
Yeah.
saw you mentioned all the family. I want to say thanks again to everyone in the chat, man. I saw someone mention Morehouse. My phone is doing everything well right now, but got some Morehouse. So shout out to Morehouse for sure. Definitely. I don't know
Shout out
that
to Morehouse.
for sure.
Yo, Ea-Rhon, thank you so much for being on, buddy. I look forward to us having many, many more conversations as this thing continues to grow, as you continue to grow, and as you continue to blossom in this space and beyond. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening. Guys, as I always say, adoption is inevitable. Alluminati out. I'm going to see you guys next week. Next week is actually episode 29, season 2, and it's actually our final official conversation for the season, because episode 30, as you guys know, we do some giveaways. We have some exciting stuff planned for this season. I'm going to hint at it for the guys who are in Trinidad. They're going to enjoy it maybe a little bit more than the general public, but we have some really, really exciting stuff. Next week, we have one of the most exciting conversations lined up for you guys. Oh my God, I'm excited. I'm not gonna say anything, but today we had Ea-Rhon on, who is, coming into this thing young, energized, excited. Next week we have somebody who's been around for a little bit, so excited to hear his perspective as well. But Alluminati out for now. Adoption is inevitable. Be blessed, guys.